and over again, but the more I'm out in public, I actually tell people about it. I'm sure you do the same. Isn't this just trying to encourage people to make city workers aware of what's happening?
Exactly. And especially like something with the waterways. If for whatever reason a neighbor's boat became untethered in the canal and it's drifting down the canal, like we said earlier, there's 80 plus miles of waterways in the city. We can't cover all 80 miles all at once. So there's a good chance if you see it, you're going to see it before we do. Please just give us a heads up, and we'll get it taken care of.
What's the I don't want to say service time, because from start to fix on road signs, it's got to be pretty daggone quick. Yes. With the waterways, to see something in the waterways, they probably get those things taken care of right away too, right? Just because they don't need the cause and effect happening.
Right. So I know over the summer when we had Tropical Storm Elsa that came through, even before all the flooding issues, we had, I was making my way around the morning after it came, because it came through overnight, as I'm sure everybody remembers. And, we were making our way around to check out different reports of flooding here and there and different objects. And somebody said, hey, there's a boat hitting this water control structure. And I mean, we had people out before I even knew about it. I was getting calls or emails from people saying, hey, do you know what's going on over here? We see public works guys out here dealing with this boat. So we made our way over to see what's going on. And one of the neighbors out there said, oh yeah, I live a couple blocks away and I saw it go past my house at, 5 a.m. or whatever. So some of it, yes. Obviously, again, it depends on the severity of the situation. But if somebody files an issue with North Report and says, hey, this boat is making its way down the waterway, please send help. We're going to work to get out there as quick as we can so that it doesn't do things like damage the water control structures or, end up on somebody else's yard.
Well, I've got a question from Brian Lincoln. Is the city of Northport or the residents responsible for cleaning the drainage pipe underneath the residents' driveways?
Okay, so the residents are responsible for keeping the ends clear, maintenance of the ends of the culvert pipes to reduce blockages. If for some reason you think you've got some buildup of dirt, mud, rocks, any kind of debris underneath, we will have somebody come out and take a look. They do inspect it, and they can clear that out for you. I will say if it's massive dirt buildup under there, it does end up looking pretty messy on the other side of the pipe when they blow it out. But that is something we can help take care of. And at that point too, they would tell you, hey, this is why we think, you've got a dirt buildup, the pipe may be failing, things like that. At which point, replacing the culvert pipe would fall on the homeowner.
Okay. Which makes sense. Brian, I hope that answered your question, my friend. Let me know if it did. That was a pretty thorough answer. Do we see a lot of damaged culverts out there?
I will say it depends. It depends, I think, kind of on when the houses were built. I think at one point the aluminum or corrugated steel pipes were the rage. At some point, PVC drainage pipes became a thing. More recently, the cement drainage pipes are an issue. I know we bought our home in 2011, and it had been built in 2006. And our pipe was metal, and it was just in god awful shape. So it was failing. The dirt was going through it, underneath it, washing everything out. And when we finally got it replaced last summer, and when they pulled it out, I mean, the guy told my wife, he said, watch, this pipe shouldn't bend at all. And he picked it up and crumpled it like a piece of paper. It was awful. So I think some pipes are more prone to failing quicker than others. But again, that's something you can give us a call and say, hey, I think there might be something wrong with my pipe. Can you tell me, is this what's causing it? It seems blocked. We're having drainage issues. and they will help highlight whether it's something in the pipe or if maybe a neighbor's got a high point in their swale, and see how we can get that fixed.
He said, "Thank you, Billy. My pipe is filling the with sand, maybe 30 to 40%. Should I call the number John read earlier to get someone to inspect?"
Yes, I would recommend calling customer service 941-240-8050. Tell them you're having drainage issues. You think your pipe could be blocked. They'll come out, take a look, and give you advice on where to go from there for sure.
With everything that's happening out there with drainage, I know that I was over in the general development, the old section, straight across from Winn-Dixie,
Okay.
and a lot of what we had over there had nothing to do with culverts, believe it or not, in my section, because it was your driveway was actually designed with a V like a culvert,
Right.
and so you didn't have the culvert underneath the driveways. But what I did see when I lived over there is that sometimes the areas were raised higher than others.
Right.
So you have a backlog of water standing. And I don't know if it's still a problem over in that area, but Otis and Scorpio, there was the water would sit there on that corner.
Mhm.
Not terrible, and trust me when I tell you, we live on sand and we're like right next to the water. If you call and complain, the 2 hours it takes them to get there, the water's gone.
Right.
Not standing water for days. Isn't there a standard of what we look for as far as how long the water is actually standing after a rainstorm?
Absolutely. So the current standard we have is that the swales and everything are designed to hold water for up to 72 hours between any rain periods. So essentially, let's say it rains today, then come 4 o'clock Thursday, you come out and there's still water sitting in your swale. That would be the time to give us a call and say, hey, it's been a few days. My swale's still holding water. I think I may have drainage issues. Can you help? But if it rains tomorrow, that clock resets. Now it would be Friday afternoon. If it rain again Wednesday, now you're looking at Saturday afternoon. So a lot of times the trip ups we've had is people, call the next day and go, hey, my swale's still holding water. What's going on? And there's typically a 3-day period for the water to work its way either through the swales down to, a drainage outfall, or just to be absorbed by the soil. And, some of that depends on where you live. I live out in the estates area, and, the groundwater level is basically like a foot below the soil. So we pretty much just hold water all summer, and that's not that the swales aren't doing what they're designed to do. It's just the nature of living out where we're basically a floodplain.
Right. Well, you're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 FM, and we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter out there in social media world. So if you're fortunate enough or blessed enough to be watching on Real Talk 97.5 or Real Talk on Facebook, or WKDW on Facebook or YouTube, I really appreciate you guys chiming in and asking questions. Mr. English has a question. I'll let you read that one out loud.
Percolation standard is set by Swift Mud, not the city.
All right. Do you have a question that goes along with that, Bill? Mr. English. So I'm not sure what percolation is. What is that?
I believe that's kind of what we were just touching on, as far as how long it takes for the water to kind of make its way through the soil and make its way through the soil system.
I'm glad that's a word I hadn't heard, and I'm just glad he threw that in there then.
I'm assuming that's what it's in reference to.
Well, I'm sure that Chuck is going to be all over the keyboard here in a second and letting us know. But I appreciate the insight because he definitely is one of the citizens out there concerned about the drinking water and what we're doing with it. And I know that we're working hard to keep everything moving the right direction.
Right.
Are there any issues that we should know about with our drinking water, or anything that's out there that's in conversation right now? Yeah, turn your lights back on.
So at this point, I don't know that there's any set issues that we're looking at. I know we have a fairly standard grid project, what they call a grid project. So they're constantly working on certain neighborhoods. They've got a timeline set. Right now, they're continuing to work in neighborhoods off of Salford between Price and the highway. And so they're continuing to improve drainage there. It's a constant effort. They'll dig this neighborhood out, and then probably another 5-10 years, some of these houses will just need it again. It's natural progression of the ground when you deal with so much rainwater and things like that. But it's a constant continuing project. So we've got crews that work on that throughout the year. And then as rainy season comes and people realize they have drainage issues, we've got another crew that kind of goes through a schedule. As these people call and request help, they get put on a schedule, and these crews go through and just kind of knock them off the list as they go.
With our canals the way they're set up, do we widen those at all, or do we leave the natural sides the way they are until we need to go in and clean those up?
I believe at this time they are not widening.
So they're pretty much leaving things alone. When you I'm going to ask this question because I'm trying to learn more about it, and maybe you do have an answer for it. I'm not sure you do. If they were to widen, doesn't that mess with the really the foundation of the canal itself, because of how it's laid out, and the vegetation is already there holding it in?
Right. My assumption would be that any widening of the canal, whether it's at the beginning up near the Mayakahatchee, let's say the Big Slough Canal, for instance, the one that runs all the way through town, kind of down the middle. My natural thought would think if they're widening, at any point, whether it's the beginning or the end, I think naturally that's going to cause, some kind of change in water flow. Whether that's ideal or not is kind of above my pay grade. I think we have personnel who study those kind of things, keep an eye on those kind of things. And then the other part of that is I don't know if there would have to be special permitting and things they would have to do to get on board with that.
And then Chuck English, is there a schedule for future dredging of canals and waterways?
I don't believe so at this time. I could look into the matter, check with our operations staff and see if there's plans for that in the future. But I personally do not have a schedule accessible to me that